Chapter 15 includes a new comparative discussion on the aftermaths of slavery in various Western Hemisphere societies. You see important commonalities in the struggles over land and labor in post-emancipation societies. How do you situate the experiences of former slaves in the United States in this broader context?
Well, just as slavery was, of course, a hemispheric institution, so was emancipation. And I think it's useful for us in thinking about the aftermath of slavery in the United States, the Reconstruction era and after, to see what happened to former slaves in other places where slavery was abolished. What you see is that a similar set of issues and contests take place. Everywhere, former slaves desire land of their own. I mean, this is the number one thing. They want autonomy. They want independence from white control. And since all of these are agricultural regions, everywhere former slaves demand land. In some places, they get land fairly effectively, like in Jamaica, West Indies, where there's a lot of unoccupied land that they can take. Some places they don't, like in the United States. But that battle over who's going to have access to land and economic resources is a commonality in the aftermath of slavery. So too is the effort of local plantation owners to try to get the plantation system going again, to force slaves back to work on the plantation, or if not, to bring in labor from somewhere else. In the West Indies, they bring in workers from China, from India, South Asia, to replace slaves who are moving off onto land of their own. They can't quite do that in the United States. There are a few Chinese brought in, but very few, because the national government here prevents it. They say, no, you've got to deal with these former slaves, deal with them fairly, equitably, and then you won't need foreign labor. What's different in the United States, and I think it shows the difference between this country and others, is how the right to vote becomes so critical to former slaves here. This is a democracy. It prides itself on being a democracy, and freedom in the United States includes the right to vote. That's why the women's movement made the right to vote such a key demand, even though many of the issues facing women were not really political. They're social, economic, etc. But in the United States, if you are denied the right to vote, you are stigmatized as being outside the boundary of freedom. That's not true in places where the right to vote is much more restricted for everybody, like in the West Indies, where you have to own a lot of property to vote. So here, the issue of black political power, political participation, immediately comes to the fore in the aftermath of slavery in a way that it doesn't in other parts of the Western Hemisphere that abolished slavery.